Hey, what do I do as a fourth grade teacher on the second day of school? The second day of school is all about technology, introducing technology to the kids. It takes quite a while for them to remember how to log into their Chromebooks, to go over the Chromebook rules. We bookmark several sites like our LMS system, which is Canvas. And Google Classroom. I also introduced them to my portal on portaportal.com, which has games for them to play. So it's a fun day when it comes to technology. And then I'm starting so the technology is a big component of today, but also I really start with three academics: reading, writing, and math, along with the social emotional learning stuff. So for math, what we actually do is a pre-test for our first intervention groups. And that doesn't take very long. It's usually pretty low stress for the kids. And then I also introduce my Canvas LMS multiplication facts, so they get to do some multiplication fact fun on the second day of school. For reading, I combine a lot of my academics with social emotional. So I begin with a activity I call popcorn. So first of all, I get a big bag of popcorn and put it in the middle of the circle. And I say, I have a challenge for you. I want you to close your eyes. When I say go, I want you to time yourself for 1 minute. Once you think 1 minute has passed, you're going to stand up and say pop. And ready, set, go. And what happens is when the first person says pop, everybody else kind of goes, and then all of a sudden you hear pop, 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 pop. And then, of course, we eat our popcorn. And I tell the kids that just like a bag of popcorn, all of you are going to pop at a different time. And that's okay. If some of you haven't popped yet, that's okay. We're all going to pop at different times, and we shouldn't be comparing ourselves to each other. And that leads me to this book, Calvin Can't Fly. It's a fantastic book about a starling who chooses, instead of learning how to fly, to learn how to read. And when it comes time for the starlings to migrate, Calvin can't fly. So it's also a great book to introduce my first reading strategy, which is prediction. So it's a great book for that. For math, of course, like I said, we use our LMS system to do multiplication. And then I introduce our next academic, which is writing. This is our first day of writing. And again, I introduce that in a social emotional way. I have each student talk about a time where they got hurt. And no matter how hurt they were, whether they went to the hospital or whether they got stitches or whether they just stayed home from school, they get the same size Band-Aid. And we talk about how education isn't a one size fits all, that everybody is going to get what they need. Just like in a medical situation, some people go to the hospital, some people get stitches, some people just stay home from school. Then they take this Band-Aid and they put it on a page of their notebook and they write a story about a time they got hurt. I collect those and use that data to plan my instruction in writing. So it's kind of like a writing pretest. Now, the last component is, of course, our social emotional component of the day. And for that, I start introducing my classroom rules, which are, I'm trying to get you to see them, which are right there. It's based on the acronym STRONG, which is what our acronym is for the school. So I talk about what Cougar Strong looks like in our classroom. And then I introduce some of the consequences of not following the rules. So I introduce them to the thoughtful spot and our think sheets. Or I guess this year we decided to call them help sheets. And I also introduced them to some of the rewards that we have as our class. Now for me, I guess I must have ADHD because I get bored of the same reward system, and I think the kids kind of do too. So at the beginning of the year, I like to have something that's short and sweet and quick, and that is our behavior tic-tac-toe. So anytime they do one of these things, they mark it off. They get a prize when they get 3 in a row, and they also get a prize for blackout. When the first student gets blackout, then we'll switch to something else, some other kind of reward system. whatever kind of floats my boat in that moment. I do punch cards. I do a reward jar. I do all sorts of things, whatever the mood strikes me to do. So I hope you've enjoyed this look at the second day of my 4th grade classroom. What do you do on day 2? And stay tuned for day 3. TTFN. Ta-ta for now.